Language. Language is a thing that binds people together. It lets us express, relate, and create ideas with each other. I was born in an only Spanish-speaking household, so naturally, Spanish became my first language. From shows to music to the people I spoke to, I was always surrounded by Hispanic and Peruvian culture. It wasn't until I entered preschool that English took its place into my life. As I grew, my hold of my native tongue became weaker, making me want to grasp my native language tighter and surround myself with Spanish more and more each day. That made me wonder, what types of relationships do Latinos have in America with Spanish? Recent studies show that all Latinos who speak Spanish at home decreased from 78% to 68% in 2021. But specifically for US-born Latinos, it decreased from 67% to 55% that same year. According to findings from the USA Today, quote, U.S. immigrant language that aren't English are lost after 3 generations, unquote. There is no longer a clear line between fluent and unfluent among Latinos living in America. There is now a mix of levels of proficiency. Some Latinos could write and read but may not be able to speak. Others can only understand Spanish, while others can speak but not read or write. These variations of proficiency could have occurred for many reasons. For example, in the past, Mexican American families experienced segregation in schools if they spoke Spanish or spoke with a Spanish accent, so some families would decide to not teach Spanish to their children, an attempt to have their children avoid this type of mistreatment. Some would say that discrimination like that does not occur today in modern times, but in 2019, U.S. reported that around 23% of Latinos experienced discrimination for speaking Spanish in public. Being discriminated for speaking Spanish would push some Spanish households to only want their children to only learn English proficiently. There are other reasons some Latinos in America might not know Spanish that well, like simply forgetting how to speak it. English is the dominant language in America. Spanish might be used less, making one simply forget Spanish. There have also been studies on how Spanish proficiency can affect Latinos. Studies show that Spanish proficiency can affect Latinos' self-esteem in their community. Non-Spanish speaking Latinos experience lower self-esteem and also experience less connectedness to other Latinos in their community, while Spanish-speaking Latinos in America experience a higher self-esteem and a higher connectiveness with their Latino community. Reflecting back on the Latinos who surround me, I interviewed my brother to reflect on his own relationship with Spanish. For my brother, he can read, write, and speak both English and Spanish proficiently. Born here but raised in Peru, he went to a school where the primary language was Spanish. So he was able to learn how to read and write in Spanish. Later, he moved to America and transferred to an only English-speaking school. There, he was able to learn how to read, write, and speak English. According to him, he feels that he has a good immediate connection with anyone in his community that speaks Spanish, and he feels very confident in his Spanish. I also interviewed my friend who could only understand Spanish. He could neither read, write, or speak Spanish. In his experience, he does not feel a high connectiveness, and he also admits that he feels a little self-conscious about not knowing Spanish, but at this point he accepts it as a fact. For me, I was taught to speak Spanish by my mother. I did not learn how to read or write in Spanish, nor did I completely understand the grammatical structure of Spanish. I went to school where the primary language was English, so I learned how to read and write and speak well in English. I don't feel any lack of connection within my Latino community, but I do feel a lack of confidence in my Spanish due to my thick accent. Language is such a unifying thing, but some may see it as a barrier. I think it is important to know Spanish is not a vital prerequisite to be considered Latino. Regardless of proficiency, our shared culture is what unites us together, not just our language.